Hello and welcome to the Wellness Journey podcast with me, Rhi Bowden.
And me, Suzanne Williams. And we're in season 5,
Yes.
which is so exciting.
And it's all about life lessons. And today we are joined by a very special guest. So we have Helen Jenkins joining us. And for those who don't know, Helen is a double world champion in triathlon and also a 3 times Olympian. So we are in sporting royalty today.
And look at this, if you are watching on YouTube, it's beautiful.
Yes, so we're in Helen's home and we are surrounded by all her triathlon gear, suits, triathlon suits, race suits with her name. So it was Helen Tucker and then to Helen Jenkins, and also the Olympic certificate that you've got there. So it's fabulous. We've been really inspired today.
It's beautiful.
It does feel a bit showy-offy to have it all on there. But it did take us, so the one on the end is my husband's, and it took us a long time to actually get it framed. So I think it's once we both retired and we're done with it, we really should get those out of boxes and I think you appreciate what you've done more actually probably when it's all over.
Oh yeah, I bet.
You can reflect.
Yeah, I think so. And that was really cool, and we should be really proud of that. So yeah, let's get it up on the wall.
Yeah. So how long has it been now since you've retired from professional sport?
Okay, so it was 2021, I think it was. So a good, about then. So I did a couple of races before COVID, and then COVID hit, and I kind of did train through that, but it was really hard. I have 2 young kids, and it was quite tricky. So I did a couple of races, but my heart really just wasn't in it at that point, and that's when I just decided. Plus, health, I had spinal fusion surgery, and so I did really well to get back from that, but it was just, there was a few niggles. I was like, this just isn't worth pushing my body anymore at this point. So I was really comfortable with that decision.
That's nice. I was comfortable with that decision. Isn't that nice?
Yeah, it didn't feel like taken away from me. So my husband, he had a genetic factor that caused his blood to clot, so he had to stop because his he had lots of blood clots he had a couple in his lungs, in his calf, and he did get back to racing, but that pain from the calves and things, he just couldn't do it anymore. So I think I was really, and I know that happens to lots of athletes, so I was lucky I kind of got to, there's things I would have liked to have done, that you never get to do everything you want to do.
Yeah.
I could look back and go, yeah, I'm really happy with what I've done, and this feels like the right time for me. And my kids were young, I wanted to be with them if I could, more than I would have been if I was training. So
yeah.
So for those of you who don't know, Helen's husband Mark also
Yeah.
competed at the highest level as well in triathlon and went to the Olympics also, didn't he?
yeah, and then he was my coach then through my Olympic cycles as well. So it really was very much a team effort for the both of us through those years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And is that how you met?
Yeah, we met swimming. Yeah, so a long time ago swimming, and but he really helped me, and I wouldn't have done what I've done without kind of that support there as well. So I
he got you into triathlon?
And no, someone else got me into triathlon, but I think just the time through the career, especially like the hard times, like when you say what I've done in my career, that sounds amazing, and I think I'm really proud of what I've done, but what a list of results doesn't show is all the hard times in between, all the things that went wrong as well. So we really did have quite a lot of harder times in that. So to have someone support there with you who's 100% behind you makes such a massive difference, because sport can be really hard. Well, lots of things in life are hard, aren't they? But it was, I think that kind of team effort really helped, and definitely helped my success in sport.
That's lovely. Support is a huge thing, isn't it?
I think so, yeah.
Supported.
Just having a really good team around you, and people that you can trust and know that have got your back, because I think that's that's always, you never really know, when times are quite hard, that's when those people kind of step up and really help you.
Absolutely. That's lovely.
And this season is all about life lessons, and we ask each guest, what advice would you give to your younger self? So knowing what you've been through now and all those hard times that you've experienced, what would your advice be?
I actually found this quite hard. I was like, right, okay, what advice would I give? And I think it's different at several points throughout my career. I think when I was I mean, like I started triathlon when I was about 17. I've been a swimmer up until that point, and then I quite naturally progressed through triathlon, and I did okay and kind of built up, and then eventually kind of did well in my first senior races when I was in my 20s. But it took early 20s, but it took quite a long time. But when I was a kid, I really wasn't like a standout at anything. I was a good swimmer, I was a good runner, but nowhere near the top. And I really wanted to go to the Olympics. Like when I was young, that's all I wanted to do. So
that's interesting.
I was quite inspired by that when I was young. And I was a swimmer. I was like, right, I'm going to be an Olympic swimmer. I was like, up to 15, 16, I was like, I'm really not going to be an Olympic swimmer. And I said, I was lucky that I found triathlon. But it's like things for my younger self, and probably to a lot of parents, you've got parents and kids in sport, it's just that you don't want to focus too much on what you're doing at that time, like thinking too far ahead, just actually enjoying the sports you're doing and not worrying too much about the results and the time. I used to put a lot of pressure on myself to get a certain swimming time, and I look back at all that kind of anxiety around competitions and how nervous I used to get, and I used to swim better in training than I did in a race because I'd be so nervous before the race. So I think just going back and giving myself like just a little bit of sports psychology advice would have made a massive difference. So I think just enjoy it. Just enjoy
Take the pressure off the results, the performance, the end. Just enjoy what you're doing.
Yeah, the knowledge I have now, just to go back and give a little bit of that and say this isn't the biggest thing in the world. Just enjoy what you're doing and don't focus so much on the results. I think would have been really important for me as a youngster. Yeah.
And then what about as you got a bit older, maybe in your 20s, maybe when you were, doing all the Olympics and the champ stuff?
I mean, I think so I progressed up until I was about 20, and then I had my first kind of really serious injuries, and I was out of competing for about sorry. That's right. It's going to keep beeping otherwise. Sorry. So I progressed through my 20s and did well in my early 20s and got some podiums in some first senior races, and then I had my first major injuries and I was out for about 18 months then. And it was I think there was no advice at that time because I was really highly motivated to keep going and come back. So I think I did show quite good natural resilience to keep going and a belief in myself. I had that belief that I could do it. So I look back at that period and I think that went quite well. But one of the biggest things that happened after that was I was doing well, ready to get back to racing, and our performance director at the time, and the performance director is generally like the boss of the sport, so she was in charge of the federation at that time, and I was like, right, this is my plan, this is how I want to get back into sport. And she came and said to me, he's like, well, we don't think you're going to make it to the Olympics. The Olympics was the following year in 2008. We don't think you're going to make it as an athlete. So that was like one of the hardest things that happened in my career. Just this is what I thought I was going to do. This is what, from a young age, I wanted to be an Olympian. I believed I was going to do it. And then for someone to stand there and tell me that, and I think I did deal with it quite well. I just kind of got back into it. But I think I'd love to go back to that moment and just say, I did believe in myself, but without the team around me, I think I could have quit. I think those team helped me at that time as well. So to go back and say, look, no, stick to what you believe. You've got to keep on this path. You've got to keep going. And I did do that, but with help as well. But I think I would have liked to have gone back and just given me, even to speak out and speak up, because I didn't really speak up. I just went, okay, and went back and kind of got on with stuff. And that's actually when Mark started coaching me, and that's when I got the team around me, got that support that really had my back at that point, which helped me get forward. But I wish I could have gone back and said, no, you can speak, you can tell everyone you believe in yourself and that you think you're going to make it. I think I kind of kicked myself a little bit for not kind of standing up and maybe speaking out a bit more.
Do you think that could be a little bit of a female thing though? Not wanting to boast about ourselves, not wanting to big ourselves up, not wanting to say, I'm awesome and I'm I can do anything.
I'm doing this.
Because I definitely feel as a woman myself, I've put myself down and made myself small and not told everyone, because it's boasting, or it's, oh, she's full of herself, or oh, she's confidence is sometimes not seen as a good thing in women.
No, and I think it's in general in the sport of triathlon, because it attracts maybe that personality type, but it's an endurance sport. You do a lot of hours of training and often solo as well. So I think you tend to be, maybe you just don't get that massive kind of, there's no big personalities like, this is me, I'm going to win, so when someone does come in to triathlon and say those kind of things, it's quite shocking. Like, it's not like fight boxing or
they pick themselves up.
martial arts where you have to have that kind of pre-fight hype. We don't really have that. So I think maybe it comes from the sport too, but also we don't have many people standing up and kind of making those statements. So obviously it should have gone back and kind of give myself a little kick to stand up. But I mean, it was a great thing in a way, because I think I did keep going. I found out who that team were behind me, which was amazing. And then the following year I became a world champion and went to the Olympics. So it was the biggest
turn around.
Yes, and she did actually apologise.
Did she?
Yeah, she did.
That's awesome.
So it was really, it was a kind of a strange situation, but I think it's one of those times where I've been like, right, no, it really galvanised me, like, this is what I'm going to do, and this is it, and I went all in for that, because if it didn't work, it's fine,
So you did your everything.
But I just wish I'd said something at the time. I shouldn't just stood there and taken that, so go back and give the advice to speak up.
Speak up is good.
Yeah. Do you think it was helpful though, in that it ignited like a fire within you to go, I'm going to prove you wrong?
Yeah, I think so. It's that adversity, isn't it? And you don't really know how strong you are until you're challenged, until someone puts and I think it happens in I say in sport a lot. So if you're good, you get onto funding, and then you get funding and everything's paid for. And sometimes the best thing to do is take away all of that. And it's like, right, if you really want this, you have to do it like the hard way. You have to fund this. And it means if you don't win any money at the race, you don't have any money. That sometimes really kind of putting yourself under stress makes you stronger. And some of those people won't come through it, and some will. So it's a tricky situation. But I do think it did make me kind of really realise what I wanted. And we went all in, because I said I had that injury for almost 18 months. So it's like, right, well, if you don't push now, is it? That's over. You just go,
you're
off
done.
You go. Yeah, you're done.
And it's often, because you said you have this belief, when someone challenges it, but you've got this, I know I can, it's as if it ignites you, and no, I know I can, and I will show you. I didn't show you with my words, but I showed you with my actions.
Yeah, that's true. So I think I probably did, but it's that kind of confidence to actually say it, I think, and maybe that comes from what you were saying, Rhi.
And then go further on in your career then, when you had all the trouble with the back and the back surgery. I mean, that was quite a significant moment in your life. What would you say, got you through that time?
Yeah, I think, well, prior to that was London, which is probably the biggest sort of career defining thing. Because I don't know if you know much about my London experience. Not everyone probably would, unless you follow triathlon. But I was one of the favourites leading into the Olympics. So I'd had a brilliant start to 2012. I had come second in a race, won a race, like best ever performance I'd had. But I'd been having a lot of kind of weird kind of issues with injuries leading into it. And we'd known about London becoming the host city for quite a long time, and pretty much as soon as Beijing Olympics finished in 2008, I was like, right, London's going to be my time. It's literally, especially that 2 years prior, I think it's something I would have thought about every day.
Yeah.
So it was one of the favourites. And then I think it was in the April time or May, I woke up one morning and couldn't walk. We know now I'd severely kind of pinched the nerves and kind of damaged the nerves in my back, but it was all in my knee, and we just weren't sure what was going on. So this was with 2.5-3 months to go to the game. So basically it was a fight from that moment to get to the start line in the best possible shape. When for the first week I couldn't walk upstairs, I had to sleep downstairs. It was that painful. So I went to see knee surgeons. One was like, oh yeah, I can operate and have this done. We're like, oh, no, I don't want knee surgery. and every scan I had on my knee was fine. And we know now it's my back, and it seems very obvious now that it was my back, knowing all my history, but we didn't know that at the time. There was a lot of stress, obviously, because it was myself and Mark in it. We had people around us, but it was a very stressful situation. And it's hard to explain, because I think it was my whole life at that point.
Yeah.
Everything you do as an athlete reflects on your performance and your race. So it's that you can't just go, oh, because it's Friday night, going to go out, a few drinks and that, because it affects the training the next day. And I don't think of it as a sacrifice, because I was all in on it and that's what I wanted.
Yeah.
But it was such an intense few years, and it literally all fell apart in that last sort of few months. So I did make it to the games and I came 5th. But which is, again, it's one of my most proud moments, because the amount of training I'd done in that 3-month period was negligible. I mean, it was terrible. I mean, I had a lot of injections into my knee in the end just to get me through training. It's not really that ethical in a way. It's like just inject steroid into the area to get me through it. So
getting that.
It's not what you would do normally, but it was obviously
a different sort of
it was like patch it up and let me go. So it's one of my proudest moments to have got through that. And that's why so much reflection came in that year post games of I just couldn't move forward, both myself and Mark, because we were so invested in it as what we were doing. But I'd love to go back to that period before the games, that 3 months. I think I cried every day. It was like, and now I look back. I look back on it now. I go, oh, for God's sake, Helen, that's ridiculous. But it's that time has removed it, and the fact like having kids as well, that had just a completely different perspective to your life. But at that point, I understand why I reacted like that, because it was everything.
It was your world, wasn't it?
Yeah, and it felt like it was slipping away. And to win that Olympic gold medal was everything. And any Olympic medal would have been nice. But I think with hindsight, I didn't win the medal, and the world didn't end. Like, everything was absolutely fine. So I think
that's lovely to hear you say that.
Yeah. But to go back to that time beforehand and go, like, the stress completely affected how we dealt with that situation. So it's like just almost someone to step in, so me now coming in and go, right, guys, you can't stay this stressed. Like, you have to kind of stay focused and do everything you should do, because I think I was so stressed I kind of lost quite a lot of weight. I probably changed what I was eating a little bit just through stress as well, just everything. So I actually probably went in like just into the games in probably a bit of a worse state than I should have done. So I wish I could go back and just be a voice of reason. So maybe not even advice, it's just keep everything else going as you should, and then let's just deal with it. We just needed someone from the future to come back.
To give you perspective.
So it's
perspective.
Yeah, because we were so invested in that at the time. So, but then I actually know now I probably could have sorted my back problems quite easily, but I wouldn't go back and change any of that, because I wouldn't be the person I am now.
Absolutely.
Like that year after the games, and let's say I've got to thank British Triathlon at that time, because they gave me that year almost breathing room, which I think we'd hear a lot of negative about sport, of how athletes are treated and this and that. But that time in triathlon, I was treated amazingly, that post-games period, and I was given that time to find out what was wrong. And we saw like pain, experts in pain, and he said we would probably, I had a sports psych, Mark had a performance lifestyle as well, because you have to find someone you click with, don't you? But we were given that time to sort of get over it and change how we operated as well. So I think I'm really grateful to that time, and I wouldn't have the same perspective on life and resilience. If I'd come away with a medal, I would obviously love to have that.
But you don't learn from success, do you? Learn from
no, you don't.
Challenges.
And I think so, yeah. And it's
and it's an amazing mindset too.
And then how long was it from that point then to when you actually had your surgery? Because obviously that was the start of your back issues, wasn't it?
I went in to see back surgeons probably about 8-9 months after the games, and they recommended the spinal fusion at that point, but said that's it, that's your career over then. I was like, well, I'm not ready for that, so we went with like a more minimally invasive procedure, and it really did work. But then I had to be super careful with how I managed my training and load, and so we had to reduce the training that I was able to do, and weird things would affect it. Like I went away and had something dodgy, so I was vomiting, but that kind of put my back out. So it's kind of knowing what kind of triggered it. So we just had to be really careful that for that sort of 4 years then leading up to Rio. I think that's probably what it was.
And why did you then decide to go and have the surgery? Was it a case of, oh, I'm sort of finishing now with my career?
I did Rio, and then I really wanted to have a baby, so we were really lucky. Had Mally the following year in 2017, and then I wanted to get back to racing, and I think that now is fantastic. There's so many more mums out there racing and doing it.
That's amazing.
I think that was really the plan, but I started training again and my back just completely went. Like it was that struggling to walk situation that I had before London, and it was like, this is crazy.
And I guess your body had changed because you'd been pregnant, given birth, everything had changed in that area in terms of your abdominal strength.
Exactly, so I think I probably hadn't kind of strengthened up enough to start doing the full, the training. Yeah. I mean, I wasn't doing full training, but I think it was that big warning sign. And I went to see, went to see a surgeon, and he'd looked at the scans. He said, "Look, this surgery is inevitable." He said, "It's not."
Oh,
so
okay.
it's just
in a way.
Like where
you have to do.
So it's what I've got. It's a spondylolisthesis, so the spine's kind of slipping forward. It's more of a genetic thing than anything that would have been caused by training. So it wasn't something I'd just done. I was obviously aggravating it with training. So, but then also because I was so strong, I was almost fixing it as well. So there was a bit of both. But it was like, you're going to need this at some point. I was like, right, I want to do it now. Then let's just get it done. And I didn't plan on coming back to training after the surgery. I started again, but it was just awful. I was like, well, there's no way. Like I can't. I remember I'd done a swim and I couldn't bend down and pick up my goggles at the end of the pool.
Right.
I was like, well, I'm not going to be an athlete. How am I going to put my trainers on?
Pick my goggles.
Yeah, I can't. So we had Max then, so in 2019. And then again, I was like, well, that's it. I'm not training. I started cycling again and I was doing really well. I was like, oh my God, I'm actually getting quite fit. And a friend of ours, we'd known him through sport and he'd worked on some contracts with us, some sporting contracts. And he's like, why don't you do a half Ironman? I was like, no. He's like, I'd be really good. I could get you this sponsor and I could do this. I've got this really good plan on what to do. I was like, oh, all right. And I know. And then I look back and it's meant that, I mean, Max was 9 months old when I raced my 70.3. And then we went into COVID like literally a month later. So yeah, it was mad. It was absolute madness. I look back at it now, I was like, oh my God, I can't believe I did that.
But you did. And that's awesome.
Yeah. And then it was COVID, and then, like I said at the start, I trained through it, but it was my back was playing up a bit. And I think actually the lack of maybe physiotherapy and treatment during COVID as well had a massive impact. So, and I was like, I think I was just fed up of fighting. It felt like a fight since London. And I was like, I just think I'm ready not to fight anymore. Let's just kind of...
done with...
Yeah.
And what is your relationship now with exercise and movement?
And I think a lot of it changed after London, because I think after London it's like, well, even if we weren't doing that year where I didn't race, I still swam, biked and ran. I was like, I actually really love swim, biking and running. So I think this whole time before London, we've been treating it as this big focus of London and the goal, and I do love a goal. I think a goal is really important, but it was definitely treated more as a job. And then after that, I was like, well, no, I actually do love this.
Enjoy it. It's joyful.
Yeah, so I think now I love training. And I think it's you find out what makes you tick, doesn't it? And me, I like to push myself hard. So I can't do that on the run anymore. I don't like to do it on the bike. So I'll swim hard. I do more gym and stuff now. But I do love it. Like, I really appreciate what I've been able to do. And the fact I can still do something.
It's incredible because... That's a gift, isn't it? After surgery and lots of different...
Exactly, yeah.
You are very... that's...
And is there any advice that you could give people out there who maybe want to be more active and maybe have got things like yourself where they've had surgery and injuries? What advice would you give?
I think it's getting to know yourself and what makes you work. I think it's quite easy to go on social media and see... I mean, I just see runners because... I think just this typical thing I follow and different stuff, and I'm like, and I can't run as much as I'd like, so I was a bit like, oh. So I think it's finding what you like.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, that might be, I'm not a massive fan of the gym, but I go with my friend and I love it. So it's finding what makes it work for you. Like, if you like walking, then walk.
That's so
if you don't,
good. Yeah.
and there's fitting, and I think when you've got kids, fitting it in when you can. I mean, I know it's
making
hard.
it easy.
Yeah, you have to be super motivated.
Accessible.
I think you have to be motivated. I think I'm really lucky because my habit is to exercise, but if you can build those habits into your life, some people like to do exercise with their kids as well. I think that really helps as they get a bit older. Yeah. So it's just trying to make it fit and work with you. And I always think something's better than nothing. So it's I'm also coaching some athletes as well, and most of them are kind of very like 50 plus, I'd say. There's a few who aren't, but they're training for triathlons, long distance ones, and I'd give them a training. It's like, look, if you can't do everything, it doesn't matter. Like, if you can only get in the pool and do 20 minutes, and then that's fine. Like, it's still something. It's that consistency.
Something. It's lovely, isn't it? Don't put too much pressure on yourself
Yeah.
because you lose the joy.
Don't be pressured to be perfect. I think is
Yeah.
So just go back to the advice as well. And I had one kind of really hard year in 2015 where I didn't know whether I wanted to carry on, and I was really sure of, like, I wanted to stop, and I was almost on the edge of it, and then kind of managed then to kind of come back and qualify for the Olympics the following year. So I wish I'd gone back to that. I'd love to go back to that time and go, just it's okay to feel like this, because I felt so guilty. It's like, I'm travelling the world, I'm doing this, I should be enjoying it. I was putting so much pressure on it. I think
it's okay to feel feelings, isn't it?
Yeah, it's okay to
really
not be enjoying it. And I didn't really give myself, so I'd been through a lot in those few years, so I'm not really taking a pause. So it's like, it's okay to feel like this.
It's natural as well, isn't it? To feel your feelings.
Yeah.
Definitely. It's amazing.
So we like to finish our episodes with an intention or an affirmation for the week, something that our listeners can go away with. What would you like to share with our listeners for this week?
Yeah, it comes from someone we both knew, but our friend Evsy, who died a few years ago of a tumour, which is incredibly sad, but he was such a legend, wasn't he? Yeah. And, he did triathlon as well and did Ironman and stuff, but he was always saying that this is a privilege to be able to do this. And I was like, that, especially those last few years after London, where I was kind of on start lines, and I was like, I kind of a lot of the negative stuff from London come back. It's like, this is my choice.
Yeah,
I'm here. This is
this
is a privilege to be here. I'm able to be out here training. Able to train, able to get to come to this race, and I knew at that point, I'd already been to the Olympics as the favourite and not won. I was like, well, how couldn't get any worse, could it? I was like, it's fine. So I think the intention to be grateful for what you can do.
Absolutely.
I think is such a massive one for me, and I think they're especially
brilliant.
Well, both you and Evsy was an inspiration to us all, and
Thank you, Helen.
Sorry,
I feel all choked up.
An incredible episode. Yeah. There's so much, even if you're not physically sort of lined at the moment, there's so much mindset there which we can all take.
Yeah.
So much reflections there with Helen, and reflection is huge. And thank you.
Thank you so much for joining us today.
We had a beautiful conversation. And thank you for listening and watching. We really appreciate that too. And if you like it, subscribe, tag, share with someone you think might find this useful today.
Yeah, and remember that you are awesome today and always.
Always.
Send in love.